Through the downpour, I delivered Adrian's iPhone to the grand. One door away I heard my own name. Isabel's nothing but my free housekeeper. A housekeeper trying to measure up to Chloe, how rich. My fingers on the handle froze and froze again. A bitter smile tugged at my lips. So the past 10-odd years of staying by his side, in his eyes, counted only as unpaid drudgery. Later, when I finally woke up, I brought his white moonlight back to him. Listening to the rising chorus of laughter inside the private lounge, I didn't know what I was thinking. I only knew that by the time I came to, I had already pushed the door open. The clamor stopped cold. Everyone stared at the uninvited guest. My mouth opened, but my heart cramped and no words came. All I could do was lift the iPhone in my stiff hand. Adrian merely paused a beat before walking over to take it. As he turned to go back, I instinctively reached out and clutched the hem of his shirt. An impatient voice sounded above me, "What now?" I hesitated, then quietly let out 3 words. "Delivery tip." Suddenly I figured, since I was already the housekeeper, why should it be free? Clearly he hadn't expected me to ask for a delivery tip. Adrian stared for a moment, then laughed soundlessly, coldly. As if to humiliate me, dozens of $100 bills slammed into my body, fluttering to the carpet. He went back to his seat wearing a mocking grin. Everyone else wore the look of people enjoying a show. I lowered my head, crouched under their mixed stares, and picked the bills up one by one. When I reached Adrian's feet, a damp heat suddenly brushed my ear. He bent close and whispered, "Isabel, I really underestimated you." My palm clutching the money turned white, my heart spasmed in sharp, rapid jerks. I forced back the tears, and after retrieving the last bill, feigned calm and walked out. At the grand's entrance the storm still raged. I pulled my thin clothes tighter. Even a midsummer downpour can chill you to the marrow. Through the sheets of rain I seemed to see again the boy who once smiled at me so gently. I remember the first time I came to Riverdale with Dad. He was busy with work, busy divorcing Mom, too tied up to care about me. That day the drizzle lasted all day, the air thick with mist. Echoes of neither parent wants this burden rang in my head as I wandered the streets in a trance. So lost was I that I never saw the speeding car. Not until a force yanked me back. Only then did I realize someone had saved me. Because I landed on top of him, I was fine, but he, his hands bloody, couldn't even stand. I was terrified by the sight and burst into tears. He was fierce, brows knitted, scolding me. How could a kid be so blind, running a red light like that? I looked up and saw a boy's face flushed with anger. That was the first time I met Adrian. Though the meeting was rough, he was hurt because of me, so for a long time I looked after him. During that stretch I gained my first real male friend, a boy sharp of tongue but soft of heart. He was like a ray of light in the dark, vividly illuminating my dim world. The rain still fell. As if possessed I walked into it. Cold water slapped my face, mingling with tears that slid down together. I moved numbly, my heart hollow, a homeless ghost. I don't know how long I wandered in the night. When I stopped, I was again wherever Adrian was. This place had originally been only his, but after my stepmother threw me out countless times he insisted I move in. Maybe I'd been too greedy. How could a blazing sun like him shine on just one person? I still went back. Back to the home that still held Adrian. To my surprise, he was actually there. No lights were on, the whole space lay in gloom. He leaned on the sofa, breathing hard, a boundless heaviness spreading from him. Panic flickered through me. I faltered, "I'll brew you some sober-up tea." But after only a few steps a strong smell of alcohol hit me, and before I could react he had flung me onto the sofa. His burning body followed. Heavy, damp breaths brushed my ear. Adrian sneered, "Isabel, you've grown a backbone, daring to ask for money." "Then what about this?" A ripping sound cut the air, and his mocking voice returned. How much are you charging? I stared in disbelief, tears blurring my sight. When had that one spring breeze boy turned into this? He didn't stop, violence mixed with release. Cool air brushed my skin when I realized what he was doing. Trembling, I clamped both hands over his roaming ones and begged him not to. But it was as if he heard nothing. Isn't this exactly what you want? Quit the act. I shook my head, shoved him away with all my strength, terror in my eyes. Adrian, you're scaring me. Scared? He gave a short laugh, stilled, then suddenly laughed like a maniac. Haha, you, scared? If you'd ever known fear, you wouldn't have used such vile tricks to force Chloe to leave alone. I froze. All strength to struggle left me. Chloe and he had been a mutual, unstated first love in their teens. But before it could go anywhere, it died the day she made her confession. The weather that day was cool. In a startling red dress, Chloe spoke her love for him. Yet the starlight that had just lit in Adrian's eyes died at her next words. The girl who had been shy seconds before suddenly sobbed that she refused to be a homewrecker. It would disgust her. Since he already had me, she had to leave. She even urged Adrian to take responsibility for me and to forget she existed. She left, away from home, alone and rootless. And the sight of her thin, proud, helpless back as she turned etched itself into memory. I was lost, mystified. Until Adrian hurled his iPhone at me. Bewildered, I picked it up. The screen lit with a cuddly photo of Adrian and me. I opened the chat history and saw messages between Chloe and me. Adrian is mine, we'd been together ages. We grew up side by side, did you really think a Johnny-come-lately could beat me? Wise up and get lost, or I'll let everyone know you're a shameless homewrecker. Below those lines, 3 intimate photos of Adrian and me. My shaking hand denied it, I hadn't sent those words or those pictures. But Adrian didn't believe a syllable. He seized my throat and snarled that since I loved him so much, I could stay by his side, forever. I became his girlfriend in name only, in reality I was the free maid at his side. Cheap and expendable. It wasn't that I'd never thought of running, but he said this was what I owed him. Because Chloe had left him on account of me. Izzy, since you drove Chloe away, you can damn well suffer for it, so don't try anything. Adrian's roar yanked me back to reality. The moment I lifted my eyes I met his bloodshot ones. The disgust in his brows and lashes stabbed deep. I looked at him and said, seriously, Adrian, I didn't. Why can't you believe me? Just once would have been enough. The answer was a door slamming so hard the frame shook. He was gone, taking every degree of warmth in the air with him. I don't know where I found the courage. I pulled my coat tighter, opened the door, ran after him, and blocked him before he could leave. Adrian, I said I didn't, are you even listening? Adrian sneered again, impatience and crawling all over his face. You added Chloe, you sent the texts, the photos. Don't tell me your iPhone was stolen and someone else did it. I'm not an idiot, Izzy. I laughed until tears fell. One last try for myself. Adrian, I don't think you're stupid, but the truth is my phone was lost. I have no idea who sent those things to Caldwell. It really wasn't me, not me. Izzy, still lying? Then explain those pictures. Don't tell me those intimate shots were also taken in secret by some mastermind long in advance. He stared, the mockery in his eyes almost drowning me. I clenched my fists, nails sinking deep into my palms. Only that pain gave me enough courage. The photos, yes, I took them. I like you, I admit it. That night you were drunk and wouldn't let go of me, I snapped a few shots of us together. But I never showed them to anyone, let alone sent them out. Huh. Izzy, if you just owned up, I'd despise you a little less. He gave a cold laugh and slammed the door again. The room fell into a dead silence, a bottomless darkness swallowing me whole. As expected, he still didn't believe me. He hadn't hesitated for even a second. I don't know whether he came back in the days that followed. Because I'd already left. I went to find Chloe. Since losing her hurt him so much, I'd personally bring his happiness back. After 7 or 8 days of searching, I finally saw her in a foreign city. In an elegant cafe, designer labels from head to toe, tall and radiant, she was the kind of person spotlights follow. The moment I sat, I stated my purpose. She was only surprised for a second, then took out her iPhone and briskly booked a return ticket. Izzy, I've been gone 2 years and you still haven't landed him, guess that's your own uselessness. I didn't deny it, in a way she was a victim too. Without those messages and photos, she and Adrian might already have kids. So even if I hadn't sent them, I still felt a trace of guilt. Those intimate shots had indeed come from my phone. I'm sorry you lost so many years with him. Then I looked her straight in the eye. But whether you believe it or not, the texts and photos weren't from me. I wasn't trying to drive you away. Almost without pause she replied, I believe you. Before the shock wore off, she curved her red lips in a smug smile. Because I'm the one who sent them. Boom, my mind went blank. I don't know when she left. Her triumphant words kept echoing. She said she'd always known Adrian had a pretty little shadow tagging along, so she'd been watching me in secret. My phone hadn't been lost, she'd seized the perfect moment to steal it and stage the entire drama. Furious, I demanded why. She said she needed a reason to leave him that would seem forced, and I was the perfect excuse. That way we'd turn on each other, and Adrian would forever see her as the unattainable white moonlight, never forgetting her. But now that I'd personally come to invite her back, she had no reason to stay in exile. I asked if she feared I'd tell Adrian the truth. She gave a contemptuous smile. He didn't believe you before, he never will now. True, his heart only held her, there was no room to trust me. Without evidence, whatever I said would only sound like a vicious ploy to smear his Chloe. The one thing I still didn't understand was why she had to leave him in the first place. When I asked again on the plane, she merely smiled mischievously and breathed one word, secret. The day we landed in Riverdale the weather was spectacular, blue sky, white clouds, a gentle breeze. Adrian showed up as promised. Only his face was thunderous. Right, since Chloe's departure he'd treated me as a free maid and punching bag. When had he ever given me a pleasant look? These 2 years I'd almost forgotten what his smile looked like. My eyes reflected his figure racing toward me. I forced a bitter smile. After today, my little son would fully belong to someone else. Adrian reached me and gripped my shoulders hard. Izzy, you dare pull a disappearing act on me? You think I'd care? Let me tell you, even if you died, I wouldn't spare you a glance. The crooked curve I'd mustered vanished from my lips. I rasped, fine. I like quiet anyway. Silence hung in the air for several beats. Slowly Adrian unclenched my shoulders. I knew he must have spotted Chloe not far behind me. The next second his figure brushed past. The familiar scent lingered only a heartbeat. I turned. In the golden afternoon sun the two of them embraced, a picture-perfect scene. Passers-by looked on enviously, some even raised their iPhones for covert snaps. Adrian's looks were unquestionable, Chloe's dazzling presence impossible to ignore. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, always a magnet for eyes. I had to admit they matched perfectly. Lovely, true lovers reunited. He'd finally gotten what he wished for. I lowered my gaze to my lone shadow on the ground, the truth suddenly felt pointless. While they were lost in their moment, I went back and packed lightly. The clothes he'd bought me, the trinkets, the gadgets, even the delivery tip he'd thrown at me that day, I left everything. My own belongings were so few they didn't even fill one suitcase. I still remember the shock on his face when I wheeled that single suitcase down the stairs. You're a girl, how can you own so little? My cousin's vacation album is already twice the size of your entire life. He even said my dad was a cheapskate who wouldn't spring for a single new dress. Then he dragged me, still fuming, to the mall and bought me 4 whole seasons of clothes in one go. That afternoon he was mad, I was laughing, and the sun chased our shadows like we lived inside a fairy tale. The joke was on me. I actually thought I was the princess in that story, the one who'd won her prince. A self-mocking smile. I turned away and didn't look back once. A breeze brushed my cheeks, wet mist blurred my eyes. So this is heartache, not just a pretty word, but a place that really, physically hurts. I went home. The country house that Dad and Mom both walked away from. Now it's mine. Before I decided to bring Chloe back, I'd already renovated the 2-story cottage, small yard, quiet, cozy. I love it here. If it hadn't been for Adrian, I would have moved long ago. Now isn't too late, either. I dropped my suitcase, changed into comfy loungewear, and started cleaning. I'd just finished weeding the yard when the gate rattled. 2 quick barks answered. My eyes lit up. I swung the door wide and Circle lunged, knocking me onto my butt in the grass. Circle had once been a stray pup, Adrian and I rescued him together. Adrian never liked him much, but he never stopped me from keeping him either. Now that I'd left, of course I brought the dog along. Haha. Circle, okay. Gross, stop licking. Laughing, I fended off his enthusiastic tongue. So I didn't notice the man trailing him until a large hand hauled me upright with an amused chuckle. Looks like Circle really missed you. I looked up, the face was unfamiliar, and caution flashed in my eyes. Who are you? Oh, I'm Maggie's brother, Jason. Maggie is my best friend, my only best friend. She'd mentioned she had an older brother who was her polar opposite, straight-A genius versus professional slacker. He skipped grades, she repeated them. While he got a full ride overseas, she was still scraping through a no-name college. That's where we met, 2 art majors bonding over bad coffee and worse deadlines. Coincidentally, our hometowns are the same, so when I came back to renovate, I left Circle at her place. Hi, I'm Isabel. I smiled politely. He leaned a shoulder against the gatepost. Aren't you going to invite me in? Before I could answer, he strolled past me and started rolling up his sleeves for housework. With his help, the rest of the cleaning flew by. To thank him, I asked him to stay for dinner. Izzy, you don't have to be so stiff, his low voice cut through the quiet. I glanced up, dumbfounded, pretty sure this is my house? He went on, you're Maggie's best friend, I'm Maggie's favorite brother. So by extension we're practically family already. Me. But no rush, you'll get used to me soon enough. Me. I sneaked my iPhone out, snapped a quick photo and texted Maggie, this is really your brother? She pinged right back, what, he doesn't look like perfection incarnate. Me, chatty and overfamiliar, this is the brooding genius you described? Haha, certified original, except no substitutes. Me, when are you coming? Tomorrow, babe, tomorrow. Won't make you wait long. We're both art majors and comic lovers, so when Maggie heard I was moving back, she quit her job on the spot and vowed we'd start a studio together. I know the real reason, she's terrified I'll fall apart without Adrian, so she came home to watch over me. She acts loud and careless, but her heart's a warm, careful place. In my darkest hour, she's the light I still have. After Jason left, I lay alone in the yard hammock, rocking under the stars. From beginning to end, Adrian hadn't sent a single text or call. Well, of course not, he finally got the girl he always wanted, why spare a thought for the disposable nanny? Just as well. I finally get some peace. My iPhone dinged, reflexively I opened the screen. Today's gossip headline blared a photo of Adrian and Chloe wrapped in each other's arms. Never mind that Chloe's a mid-tier beauty influencer, any scoop on the frost heir is instant gold. Someone snapped a secret shot, the internet ID'd them, and the feeding frenzy began. Long-lost lovers reunited, the captions gushed. Comments overflowed with blessings and renewed faith in destiny. So it's not just me, they look perfect to everyone. Yet staring at Chloe's radiant face tucked against his chest, I still can't figure out why she vanished the way she did. Back then Adrian's whole world was her, one crook of her finger and the frost crown was hers. I investigated, but she'd covered her tracks so well I almost believed I'd simply misplaced my iPhone. When it mysteriously reappeared at home, I blamed my own forgetfulness. The only clue I ever found, before she disappeared, she met Eleanor. Eleanor, Adrian's mother. No one knows what they said, witnesses only saw Chloe leave in tears. I told Adrian once. He cut me off before I finished. He was convinced I'd orchestrated everything, because my gaze dimmed. Because the night before Chloe left, I'd confessed my feelings to him, and there were photos of us looking intimate, so he decided I'd driven his true love away with cheap tricks. All these years, that's the sordid portrait he's kept of me. I exited the article, reopened WhatsApp and the chat log that was basically me talking to myself. With one tap I blocked every last trace of him. I lifted my eyes, starlight scattered across them. I told myself, Isabel, the world is wide, he's just one man. Let it go. Next day Maggie came home early. She showed up with her brother in tow. She hugged me, grinning, old house rehab project, mind if big bro crashes a few days? Their arrival turned the cottage into a carnival overnight. Maggie landed a rush commission the moment she arrived, so we plunged into all-night drawing marathons while Jason stayed oddly free. Our groceries, coffee, sunscreen all appeared courtesy of him. Between panels I asked Maggie, your brother the overachiever, how's he so, available? Maggie winked, possibility, he's currently between genius gigs. I squeaked, he's unemployed? Relax, came Jason's voice from the staircase, fruit bowl in hand, being jobless doesn't stop me from keeping you two fed. My ears burned. Talking behind someone's back really does come back to bite you, at least I hadn't said anything nasty. Life had been so hectic that I'd stopped following gossip, and I'd almost stopped thinking about Adrian. I'd locked him away in a dark corner of my mind, as though he no longer existed, yet every so often he still seeped out and gnawed a hollow ache beneath my ribs. I told myself I only needed a little more time, eventually I'd get used to the emptiness. 5 months later, the first draft was finished. As soon as Maggie texted me the address for the client meeting, she left on vacation with her boyfriend. In my humble opinion, I'd been neglecting him way too long, I'd better go coax him back, she'd said. So I had to meet the client in her place. The draft had to be reviewed and refined before the client gave final approval, and only then would the deal be sealed. What I hadn't expected was that the client would be someone I already knew. Izzy, it really is you? When I saw the name Vance sent over, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. Do you have any idea that little punk Adrian is scouring the planet trying to find you? Derek is Adrian's uncle, and because of Adrian we'd met a few times before. We weren't close, but we knew one another. He'd once praised my illustration style and said I should come work for his company. Back then, though, my days revolved around Adrian, the thought of a 9-to-5 job never crossed my mind. I gave an awkward laugh and sidestepped the subject. That's quite a coincidence, I answered politely. Reading my cue, he didn't press, instead, he moved straight to business. He loved the draft so much that he produced a contract on the spot and asked me to sign. Derek, please take another look, I urged. Don't give us special treatment just because we know each other. He frowned. Izzy, have a little faith in your own talent. This isn't me doing you a favor, it's you earning it, fair and square. I keep my private and professional lives in separate lanes. I never mix the two. I smiled, genuinely pleased by his confidence in us, pleased down to my bones. After I signed, he gathered the papers, then sighed and shook his head. Honestly, that fool Adrian, giving up a terrific girl like you for some gold digger. I gave an embarrassed chuckle, unsure how to respond. All I wanted was to excuse myself and leave. Then he went on. Every girl who throws herself at Adrian gets quietly tested by my aunt. You're the only one who never took her money. That Caldwell, what's her face, some wannabe model, she gladly accepted my aunt's fat check and agreed to disappear, but now she's back, breaking her word. My aunt nearly had a stroke over it. In that instant, the puzzle clicked into place. So Chloe had taken Eleanor's money and promised to leave Adrian. Afraid he'd discover the payoff, she'd framed me, making him believe I'd driven her away. Quite the scheme. And to think I'd once felt guilty toward her. Suddenly a shadow fell over the table. I looked up and met Adrian's deep-set eyes. I'd never seen that storm in them before, anger, resentment, maybe a flicker of joy. Derek was gone, Adrian now occupied his chair. Isabel, you actually dared to block every way of reaching me. The unexpected encounter scattered my thoughts, but after a moment I steadied myself. If we're done, shouldn't the cup be clean? He leaned in so fast I felt the air shift, his gaze black and sharp. You decide when to stay and when to leave, what do you take me for? I stared right back, and the words burst out before I could stop them. What if I told you those texts and photos were sent by Chloe herself, would you believe me? Predictably, the gloom in his eyes thickened, he looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. Isabel, do you even hear yourself? Are you so determined to tear Chloe down? She'd have to be insane to steal your phone and pull a stunt like that. I spoke each word slowly. Chloe accepted a huge check from Eleanor and agreed to walk away, but she didn't want to be forgotten, so she pinned it on me to keep you missing her. Impossible. He cut me off before I could finish. A bitter smile tugged at my lips. Chloe had been right, even if I laid out the truth, he'd never buy it. Loving him had once been my greatest crime. I couldn't bear to look at him another second, so I stood to leave. He seized my arm before I could. I tried to jerk free but failed. Exhausted, I whispered, Chloe is back, and I've stayed far away, what more do you want from me? Adrian hesitated, yet his grip didn't loosen. Just then a cloud of perfume rolled in. Chloe's eyes reddened at the sight of his hand on me. Adrian, if you've fallen for Lane while I was gone, I can still step aside. No. Without a heartbeat's pause, Adrian let go of my arm. His voice was ice. The one who should leave is her. Cold spread through every limb, my heart ached so much it went numb. I didn't wait another second, I strode out. I rushed home that same night, and the moment I stepped into the yard scented with fresh grass, I felt alive again. Izzy, you're back. Come on, chilled watermelon, just sliced. Inside, Jason in a white shirt cradled a huge watermelon, smiling at me. I mumbled a reply and walked over. The afternoon's misery melted away under the chill of sweet watermelon. Adrian, farewell, forever. Peace returned. A few days later Maggie and her boyfriend came back. The boyfriend, Zhao Yao, is a sunny, talkative guy. During the trip he'd proposed, and with the wedding approaching Maggie floated on happiness every single day, her mood colored mine, and I started looking at life with new optimism. Better still, our comic sold like crazy, and we signed a long-term deal with Derek's company. After a short breather we were swamped again. I spent my days either drawing or walking the dog. Now and then I joined Maggie and her crew to see a bit of the world. Sometimes I'd catch myself marveling at how I'd wasted my youth chasing Adrian. Luckily, everything was back on track, he had his so-called true love, and I had finally found my own life. Half a year later, I heard they were getting engaged. Derek mentioned it in passing, I smiled and changed the subject. By then they were nothing but two strangers whose names weren't worth bringing up. What I didn't expect was the groom-to-be showing up at my door. After a long workday, I took Circle for an evening walk. Suddenly the well-behaved pup barked toward the distance. I lifted my gaze. Against the golden sunset, a figure walked toward me, backlit by the light. I narrowed my eyes, only then recognizing who it was. Adrian. Yet, unlike his usual, high-spirited self, tonight he looked wrecked, unshaven and as scruffy as a vagrant. I didn't want the slightest new thread of connection between us, so I scooped Circles into my arms and started away. Isabel. His voice carried a heavy weariness. I didn't slow my steps. When he finally blocked my path, I said, Adrian, I'd say there's no need for us to meet again. Isabel, you can really harden your heart. All those years of feeling, gone just like that? I never imagined he could sink to such shameless words. I let out a cold laugh. Adrian, you're the last person entitled to speak like that. If that's all, I'll be going. With that, I lifted my foot to walk around him. He seized a corner of my coat. Isabel, I'm getting married. I paused, shook his hand off, and said, Congratulations. Just as I thought he'd said his last, his low voice drifted from behind, Isabel, I'm giving you one last chance. As long as you come back to me right now, I can cancel the wedding. I turned and faced him. The smiling, sunbright boy sunk deep in my memory began to blur, revealing the true portrait underneath, selfish, narrow-minded, and endlessly greedy. Adrian, I look down on you. With that, I notched my head high and walked toward my own world, a world forever free of Adrian. I once thought light existed only where he was, now I understood that I could generate my own. 2 days later, Adrian and Chloe were finally married. Hardly a week after the ceremony, rumors erupted about the bride's overseas habit of chasing every trust fund man in sight. There were even photos and recordings showing she'd once taken $800,000 from her future mother-in-law to disappear, then broken the deal and slipped back, framing it as coercion by unnamed enemies. Overnight, the Frost family name crashed through the floor, their family business taking heavy collateral damage. Everyone in Riverdale watched the once blue-blooded household become a living joke. Maggie tapped the gossip on her phone and scoffed. This Black Moon ex he can't have is a real piece of work. Divine justice, she framed you back then, and now the universe bites back. Only he was blind enough to treasure a black-hearted witch. Wait, why does this silhouette look like my brother's? She slid the iPhone toward me. In several frames of Chloe cozying up to rising elites, you could unmistakably pick out Jason's back. We hauled Jason in for an interrogation. As it turned out, Chloe had indeed tried to hook him while he was a senior executive overseas. Jason simply hadn't taken the bait. Great strategy: target one rich scion, one blue-chip prospect, one corporate hotshot, and never spare a lane. Unfortunately, Chloe's beauty was skin-deep, without substance. The sharpest players only played, none willing to marry her. But it had nothing to do with me anymore. From the instant I helped Adrian drag Chloe back into our lives, we had reached a crossroads, his road, my bridge, never again the same. Later he sought me out twice. I didn't see him. He finally had someone deliver a letter, 5 flowery pages in ink. I lacked the patience for his aching reminiscence and atonement, skimming only the highlights. In sum, he'd learned the truth, he was sorry, he had condemned me for years on nothing but Chloe's word. He swore not to spare her, he would visit on her the same 100-fold retribution he once reserved for me. In closing, he proclaimed regret, the one he truly loved was me, and he'd spend his lifetime repenting. I tore the letter in half and laughed. Inside, I discovered only calm. At that point, I never foresaw that a year later their short marriage would end, one in critical hospital care, one behind bars. Signs existed, though. Chloe's temper matches mine in no way, she couldn't stomach Adrian's cold shoulders or vengeance. Amid a vicious fight, Adrian shoved her. The fall left her badly injured, vegetative. He couldn't escape the law's reach either. When the scandal had barely cooled, Maggie's own wedding day with Xiao Yao arrived, hastened because a tiny guest was already aboard. Maggie, gnawing on a lemon she once would have spat out, mused, "Why didn't anyone tell me these are actually delicious?" I chuckled, stroking her tummy. "Craving sour? Sounds like a princess is on the way." "To our little princess, hi, it's Auntie Izzy." "Godmother?" Maggie blinked. Her reaction cracked me up. "What, you think I'm unqualified?" "Not at all." "Then it's settled. Just wonder if my brother will object." I frowned. "Jason? What's his problem?" Between Maggie's exaggerated winks and loaded glances, my ears turned hot. Jason's feelings weren't exactly a cipher, he simply hadn't pushed, and I had chosen evasion. "He's good." One day, I thought, when he finally spells it out, my answer might not be no. What I never expected was to be the one who spelled first. Caught in their wedding euphoria, I caught the bridal bouquet, and immediately presented it to Jason. "So, fool, when are you planning to marry me?" Jason froze, eyes suddenly red. "How about right now? Marriage license, rings, honeymoon, full package." In my own world, ablaze with flowers and light, I soared. First anniversary, belly swollen, I curled against Jason. "The expose articles about Chloe, you leaked them, right?" "Of course. No one bullies my wife." "But how did you even know she framed me?" Jason rubbed his nose. "I was sitting right behind you that day." Professional reflexes, taped the conversation. "That lucky? And you already knew me?" "I did. I'd known you long before." He left it unsaid. For years, a lonely little girl kept hiding beneath another man's umbrella. I pressed on. "But why release it only after their wedding?" His gaze flickered. "Because I was afraid." Silly man. Once Adrian refused to trust me the very first time, we were over. In that shared look, we both smiled, our eyes brimming only with each other. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views. And don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful stories. See you next time.